You're listening to Subculture on centralcoastradio.com. Well, there is a brand new theatre production on in Melbourne that I'm sure a lot of you are going to be very, very interested in. It's called Garage Girls, and it's on now at La Mama Theatre. Now, if you're not in Melbourne, stay tuned, because there is a way that you're going to be able to watch this production through a live stream as well. But we thought we actually want to get to know a little bit more about this production, so we thought we would actually get one of the writers and performers from this production on the phone right now. Welcome to the program, Candace Miles.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now, Candace, tell us a little bit about Garage Girls. Where did the idea for this production come from?
Sure. So how it came about was, so I'm an actor and writer in a theatre company called Three Birds Theatre, and we were approached by another fabulous group called the Shift Theatre, who had found this biography of a woman named Alice Anderson. So this biography is called A Spanner in the Works, and it is about Alice Anderson, who was a real person. She was a Melbourne mechanic, and she opened the first all-girl garage in Kew in the 1920s. And so the Shift Theatre brought this incredible story of Alice to us and said, would you want to collaborate and build an ensemble piece of theatre together chronicling her life and her incredible achievements? So that was the genesis of the idea to tell her story.
It's such an amazing story, and it's sad that this story hasn't been spread further, because like I said, it is stunning. What was your first thoughts when you heard about Alice and you read about her life?
Oh, well, we were exactly the same. We were very amazed that she wasn't someone who isn't already chronicled in history as an Australian icon and as an Australian pioneer for women in industry and innovative designs and inventions. She was a real genius and somebody who was really ahead of her time in the 1920s. And I think learning more about what she did in her life, it really became apparent to us that I think she was this quite a well-known celebrity in Australia and in Melbourne in the 1920s, and a lot of that history would have got swept up once World War II came about. So she became this sort of lost story that's just been uncovered in recent years, which is really, really exciting.
What was that like for you as a writer to be able to bring this story to the stage? That must have been something very special for you.
Oh, it has been the most exciting experience. That's a really lovely question to ask. So the theatre company that I work in, Three Birds Theatre, we work as an ensemble group where we write and perform works that are very, very rhythmic and have a lot of sharp sort of imagery and language. We love comedy, and the Shift Theatre are renowned for developing historical works and theatre works that are inspired by true events, and they have a really beautiful catalogue of work that is connected to Australian history. So finding out about Alice's story, she sounded almost like it had this filmic sort of almost storytelling quality that emerged without us even having to try very hard to unearth her history. She had a really incredible life where she did all these amazing things, and tragically her life was cut very short. She died at 29 in a sort of mysterious circumstance from a gunshot wound to the head. And so part of that was really intriguing too, because as writers, that's the most one of the most excellent ways you can build mystery and intrigue and drama into a story is having those themes. So coupled with the fact that this is a real person, it was really rich and fertile ground to bring her story to life in a dramatic theatrical narrative. So it was a delight to work in it as writers.
Now, aside from A Spanner in the Works, were you able to go out and do much more research into Alice's life at all?
Yes, we did actually. So Alice Anderson has been, there are small groups and historical societies that have preserved and dug up a lot of history and research about her and her family. And so we were able to unearth the coroner's report that chronicled her death, which gave us sort of tingles reading that, because obviously this is a real documentation about a real person who seems obviously more fictional to us, but it really hit home that there's so much power in the story, finding these real documents. We went to the University of Melbourne, to the archives, to find these handwritten letters from Alice to her friends and her family and the Garage Girls, and it was this incredible gift that we could keep finding these gems that would emerge in our research that then helped to build the world of the story that we were building. It was really, really, really cool, really special.
Now, I'm kind of frightened to ask this question because as a history buff, I know we've lost a lot of history here in Melbourne, but is anything like a house or a garage still standing out there in Kew?
I'm really anxious to say, I think that there's been conflicting opinions about this. The original garage, unfortunately, is not there, which is a real tragedy because it was apparently a beautiful piece of architecture from the time, and that Alice actually designed herself, which I think really speaks to both her engineering mind, but also her artistry and creative genius, that she could design her own garage. But so it had that beautiful deco 1920s look, but unfortunately is no longer there. But someone told me recently that the facade, I believe, might still exist, or a partial facade may exist in Cotham Road Kew, but it sadly doesn't exist in the glory days of what it was in the 1920s. No. Yeah,
that's sad. So tell us a little bit about the production Garage Girls. Is it a look at Alice's entire life, or is it a snapshot of one part of her life?
Oh yes, well that's an excellent question. What we've done is we've given ourselves a really big and exciting challenge of chronicling Alice's life as much as we could cram with all this incredible rich research into a 70-minute ensemble production. So it's really a piece of theatre which leans into comedy, history with slight noir, sort of Australian Gothic whodunit element, especially with the story that we end up telling that leads to her own story of obviously her untimely death. So it's very much an ensemble piece where we've weaved in a lot of history and fictionalized some elements to have a bit of a theatrical reimagining of the work. So it is an ambitious task as actors, but we've very much weaved in vaudevillian elements and a lot of sort of presentational comedy into the piece to make it a really exciting experience, kind of like being along for a car ride. We tried to make that experience feel like that for an audience to join us for the journey of her story.
Definitely. And who is lucky enough to play Alice? And also tell us a little bit about the rest of the cast and the other Garage Girls as well.
Absolutely. So Alice Anderson is played by Madeline Nunn, who is an incredible Melbourne actor, and she does an excellent job of having the shorter stature of Alice Anderson, which was very much true to Alice as a person. Alice Anderson was a very, very petite person who was often mistaken for being a boy in the 20s. So there was a lot of interesting material in researching Alice about, I guess, how we perceive one another when we're meeting, people, and how we perceive how we represent and our identity. There's so much rich investigation into that in our piece. So Maddie is someone who's an absolute pocket rocket and does an incredible job of playing the lead role of Alice Anderson. And myself, we have Anna Rodway, Helen Hopkins, and Carolyn Bock. We are the ensemble members who play the Garage Girls, and then we also slip into a world where we have a really fast-moving piece of differing characters that we come in and out of as men and women and customers and rival garage mechanics, and it's a really sort of rollicking romp of a piece with the characters that we play.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to be able to check it out. Now, for our listeners, we mentioned before that there is going to be a live stream as well. Tell us a little bit about the live stream and how that will work for our listeners in the rest of Australia outside of Melbourne.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like this is one if only of the good things that's come out of COVID, is that we can watch theatre from the comfort of our homes anywhere in the world. So if there are any listeners who are interested in the story of Alice but aren't able to come down to Melbourne, we do actually have a sold-out season at La Mama at the moment. So, I mean, if someone was in person and wanted to try their luck at the box office, you could rock up and take a gamble. But if not, you can enjoy Garage Girls from the comfort of home home. There will be a live stream available, which tickets can be purchased through the La Mama website. So I must say it's been beautifully directed by Candace Miles and has some incredible design as well from Melbourne designers that I think is really, really worth seeing in person. So if anyone is interested in watching, I can promise it's going to be really, really excellent to watch from a visual perspective too.
Definitely. Well, Candace, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. Like you said, it is sold out, but people can take a chance if they like. But go to the La Mama website if you want to try and get tickets, and especially tickets to the live stream. What would you like to say to people out there who are thinking about trying to get tickets or trying to get live stream tickets?
Well, there's one more thing to add, which I think is really exciting as well, which is news that we can share as companies, is Garage Girls has been actually selected to tour through regional Victoria, and we're hopefully wanting to tour or be setting up some plans to tour through South Australia as well. So perhaps if we have some regionally based listeners, if you wanted to reach out to us as well, we would love to hear from you, because if you have an old garage or a space or a theatre in your local town, we would love to strike up a conversation with how we can bring this work to you as well. So it's definitely just the beginning of the life for the show, and the story that we know has a lot of heart that we want people to see. So you can always have a taste tester with the live stream, and then the real deal in person if you're interested as part of the regional tour.
Definitely. That sounds absolutely amazing. If my father-in-law is listening right now, I'm sure he's going to hit you up about trying to bring the show to Yarram in Gippsland, because that would be...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We've connected with a lot of vintage car clubs actually, and there has been there's been some whispers and murmurs about bringing it to Yarram. So I'd love to talk with your father-in-law and see if we can make it happen.
Definitely. All right. Well, Candace, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honor having you on the show, and we can't wait to learn more about Alice Anderson in this amazing production. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time to let us tell you about Alice's incredible story. Thanks so much.